Hello, Twitch. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. Happy Ingredient Challenge night. So we got some mustard. By the way, this is only 2 companies. I'll let y'all figure out that who owns what. Move that over here. I have some folding to do. Don't worry, there's only one more after this. They're pretty much all stained at this point permanently, even with some of my heavier duty tactics tried on them. Although I haven't gone the heaviest route because I think it's just going to take out the coloring on mine. Yeah, that one's pretty much... We might put that one with the straight to the hot hand towel section. Coffee. Got a new toy. You see my new toy, or is it hidden by the tree? Oh, you can see it. Hey, Bun Buns. Start by so we got quite the selection of stuff tonight. Make sure our timers are on. They are not. My new toy. Still dialing in a little bit. But it is completely different from this perspective here, because so much more gas is being dissipated off of the fresh brewed or fresh ground coffee. So much more. It just looks like pure foam compared to what I used to brew. Yep, all sorts of mustard and everything. Gonna be doing a salad with mustard. We're gonna be doing 2 salads with mustard if you think about it, because potato salad and then normal salad. Gonna be frying up some chicken nuggets. Gonna use a whole bunch of dried mustard in the flavoring for the chicken nuggets, and then also gonna make a standard Carolina barbecue sauce, which is that yellow mustard barbecue sauce. We'll serve that with the before mentioned potato salad. But I've done this potato salad before, but I haven't done it on stream. It was a long time ago. Avocado, homemade mayo, and mustard is going to be our primary dressing for our potatoes. It's going to be a small batch. I don't have a lot of potatoes. And then just green onions to add a little color. Nice. Eggs are always good. I forgot to buy sugar. I bought powdered sugar, but I didn't buy turbinado or anything along that line. I didn't buy half and half either. I don't know what for sure I'm doing on Friday, but a good guess is it's probably going to be chicken. What else along with that? Who knows? That's because we're doing chicken stock on Sunday. We're going to do chicken tonight. We're going to do chicken probably on Friday. And that leaves me with one other chicken to use in the near future. Because I picked up 3 of them today. Because I needed the bones for stock. Cheers, folks. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back. What do we start with first? I think this is going to be the easiest thing to start with. If you've been following my Twitter or in the Discord, I've been posting in the Discord too. I started this early this morning. This is beginning of a no-knead bread dough. Or rather, not the beginning, but 400 grams of flour, 300 grams of water, and then a whole bunch of yellow mustard. And that was mixed with lots of yeast and some salt. And that's greatly increased from what it was. If we look at, see if I can pull up the Twitter one quickly here. Quick like. There we go. That was our start. If you look at the side of the bowl, how low it is compared to where it is now. And then back to where we are now. And it's also receded. So it's, by old standards, it's overproofed. In that it's already collapsed from, but that's not really how no-knead dough matter systems works. So we'll start by folding this all in over itself. And I don't know how yellow it looks on camera. It looks mostly white to me, but it's got this almost like yellow, like, you know how in a lot of like car games, they have like a two-tone going with, where it's almost like a highlight that looks over it? This looks like it's got like that yellow highlight. It's white, but it's yellow too. And we need parchment and place to put this. We need to do some wheat flour here. And actually, I think I'm going to go the extra step here with our mustard bread. That'll probably work. So this is just all AP flour right now. This is whole wheat flour. Add a bit of salt to that. This is going to be essentially our outside to our bread, our crust to our bread. And then how I'm taking the mustard to new level here is we're going to add some dried mustard. Bring it. Not all over my freshly cleaned apron though. Little garlic powder too. We'll give this a good mix up. And then I'm going to use that to, after I stop feeling clumps with my fingers there, give a light dusting there, put a nice light dusting on the parchment here. Hey Evangeline, car guy, welcome in everyone. Oops, we need a clip for this now. Nice. Congrats. We're going to continue folding this over on itself here a couple of times, which is going to work some of that bread flour into the inside. This is going to help mix it in a little bit more. Alright, I'm going to do my best to flop this side down over here, but I don't know how that's going to happen for sure. Yeah, it's not going to happen like that for sure. We're going to have to pull out a plastic dough spat, get this one out. And then over here, we can again dust the top of this with a bit more of the same seasoned flour, seasoned bread flour. Start wishing I had one of those nice forms to have let this sit in for this part of this, but and I am sure it would have pulled off, because you look how cleanly it pulled out of the bowl, actually. A little sarcasm in there. Nice! Yeah, when I was working at the farmers markets, I was doing my business before this. I was inquiring with a couple of the winemakers about mustard, because a lot of the winemakers, not all of them, they all have their special brew, but a lot of them grow mustard in between the rows off season. And I was looking into maybe getting some of that, because I was all about the local products and trying to get stuff made from local. And the amount of work that it has to go through in order to get those seeds, you have to winnow all of it. Just hand separated, essentially. That's one I hadn't heard. So we'll let this just rise like this. It's going to be a bit messy. Meantime, we're going to oil up this pan over here. Hi there. This pan needs some oil. It needs some desperate attention here. So we're going to do that before we put our bread in there. And I'm going to cook the bread with parchment in there anyway, so it's not even going to touch the surface. Ah, that makes sense. And then flax oil for coating my pans when I'm essentially carrying them. Not big on flax for cooking for food. It's actually horrible health-wise for food. But the things that make it bad, oil for food, make it good for making a nice coating in my pan. Alternatively, I've heard hemp and a couple other unconventional cooking oil or unconventional oils are good for this too. So I'm just going to coat the entire surface of this light layer of oil. Go ahead and put that in the oven. Cook this other one This is why I haven't been using this pan for a while. I guess I didn't put pan care maintenance in the title tonight. Welcome in tonight, Vengeance. Especially important when I've gotten to the point where it's got some light surface rust going and other areas that are bare metal other than a layer of oil on them. Put this one in the oven too, and set our oven 525. Baby deterrent for your Christmas tree. Halloween spider decorations in it. You know, that might actually work for cats too if you're careful enough about it. Then again, no, they'll just jump over it. But I was thinking if you wrap the bottom of it, it'd be hard for them to climb up. They'll get into those trees no matter what. Okay, chicken time. Didn't want to do that. It's not the end of the world, but especially since we're cutting it into nuggets tonight. Nice tree, welcome in. Not a broken leg at all there, huh? This one's broke too. Doing pretty well. How about yourself tonight, Bun Buns? Tree. But which is which? Ah, I'm out of large bags. I bought more, I just didn't buy any at the store. So I'm waiting for them to be delivered. And actually, I almost ordered one. I got to the shopping cart and then realized this isn't arriving until January. I should maybe look and change this. But we got a battle to do here. Let's see how we do. We gonna make it? Almost nothing left. Victory! Victory! Okay, I can take that tree. Tree getting the rewards too. I'm gonna go damage this time. Let's see what we get here. It is great for boosting up a bunch of other ones. Yeah. With that said, I'm still not sure what I want to do for holding this chicken until Sunday. Wings in there. The rest of this we're going to strip the skin. Don't really want the skin for the stock either. Forgot, these are both broken. This would be much easier if the bones were not shattered into pieces. Thank you for that resub, Nan Reader. Can smell that cooking in the oven. Flax has definitely a distinctive smell compared to several other oils out there. It's definitely not olive oil in its scent. And again, this is messy because this bone is shattered over here. Normally this would be a much cleaner and easier operation. The other one's shattered too. Just enough to be pretty or enough to be annoying? feeling for any bone fragments like that right there. Cut that whole section out. There. That's good snow. And the snow that makes it so you can't go anywhere and do anything. No thanks. Yep, cheekin'. Sorry, that's bad for you folks, but it's gonna work better for me. open the window a little bit there. Let a little fresh air in. No, it's not looking smoky. And it doesn't really look smoky in here to me either, but it's smelling smoky. So I'm going to turn a couple other fans on here. The blob. That yeast is definitely like, I'm done, cook me. Even though it's much I usually do when I do no knead bread, I usually do it the night before. So it usually gets even more time to proof. So it's odd to me that this is, maybe it's just an earlier stage with it. It doesn't, confused. Chico. Rinse this bowl out because I actually want to use this bowl for our chicken. You weren't supposed to go on the floor. Smoke's getting to me, even though it's not very visible. Open this window a bit more. Move our chicken out of the way for the moment. Give them another nice layer of flour over the top because it's starting to absorb, but rather than wasting the rest of that flour, we're going to use it for our chicken. We'll start with our first of our products. This one being the oddball out of the three. This one being produced by Unilever. And the Grey Poupon, if I can get the label open. Being a part of this company. Excuse me. This being their country Dijon. So it's sort of the in-between mustard here of the two. We add some regular AP flour in here. I have. Usually in like Asian stir fry or other such similar I know you added it to the ingredient challenge list. Not really smooth yet, but we got much more to add in here. Much more. I'm going to turn that fan on high. So we've added salt, MSG, 2 types of mustard. There was already a little dried mustard in there. Some black pepper. I don't know. That's the whole point. I'm not thinking about it ahead of time. Though at the same time, sushi is a rather broad term. To me, it just means rice in a certain style. Well, like I said, seaweed's not necessarily a part of sushi. Sushi is a style of cooking a specific style or type of rice. It's not pre-rolled with fish of any sort. It's not... I mean, you have all sorts of different types of products called sushi. And so, to be honest, I'm probably just going to use flavored rice. It may not be as interesting as people expect. Just continue breaking that up. Although it being clumpy is not a problem for our Chico. Let's see, what else do we want in there? We definitely want some cayenne. A little paprika, if only for a little color. Onion powder. Garlic. Let's see how much chicken we got here. Yeah, we need more than this. We need more. More of everything. I started that off way too small. set this aside for a moment. Last 2 minutes, get units on the battlefield. Actually, probably like 90 seconds by the time you hear this. And take chicken and add that to this. By the way, we're starting this chicken well ahead of time here. We have cake to make still. The idea here is we're getting this in the breading and allowing it to just sit there and soak up and soak up. That way you get a nice thick crust on all of our nuggets. We already got this one in use. One piece. Wow. last ingredient here I'm going to add to this mix. Bit of cornmeal. That's gonna be there to catch most of our moisture from here on out. Because I don't think there's a ton of flour left in the bottom of there. No. Alright, those are gonna hang out on the corner of the table here for a while. Bread's almost ready. That's definitely up to temp. It's definitely smoking that I can see it now. It's a smoking. Awesome. What's stopping you now? I mean, you don't necessarily have to, you know, become a slave in the sense that many people that work in the industry do. You can certainly learn about it and have fun at home. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. That's where we wanted to go. We're gonna do our battle here. That you can't. MIT, Harvard, they've got stuff on YouTube. I mean, if you're, above and beyond food and stuff, I've been watching all sorts of educational stuff. There was a great one I watched, I think it was from MIT, and I don't know why that is still so loud. I'm gonna turn that alerts as a whole down a bit there and see if that's a little bit better. I was watching a great video, going back to what I was saying there. There's several colleges that are having, you know, whenever they have a special speaker or something come in, they videotape it, they throw it up on YouTube. They've got some really cool ones out there. There's one I was watching, I think it was, top level test pilot, talking about how the newest planes actually work and how they fly compared to, essentially, he was explaining the science behind a lot of it, but, essentially he was sitting there saying, basically you dial in your max G load and do what you want, and the computer tries to do the best to match the two. That's essentially how they fly nowadays. The computer just does whatever it needs to do. You try and do what you want it to do. Yeah, you've been throwing some cool stuff in the food feed there, Hud. Up in the Discord there. Alright, what's our next steps here? I think our next steps are making cake. But I don't know if I have butter that's warmed up enough yet. Because I didn't realize that I was down to freezer butter. But I'm going to do my best attempt at making a little 4-inch cake tonight, like I've done in the past, but this time mustard carrot cake with sour cream frosting. Which reminds me, I need more butter out. Getting warm. Clean up our chicken mess here first. They give me another minute or two for that butter to maybe start warming. Awesome, Bun Buns. Glad it turned out for you. Glad it turned out for you. Let's try low fan. Okay, chicken done, cake time. And so I'm taking a recipe here. It's probably still gonna be too much. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's probably still gonna be too much. Probably gonna have to do at least 2 rounds with this, because even with looking at what we got here, I'm cutting down a recipe that's originally for a 9x16 pan. And I'm gonna quarter the recipe. And even then, we're gonna have a cup of flour and carrot in there with everything else. So yeah, that's probably 2 rounds. 4 inches. Of course, at the same time, I could make use of one of those. We got here. Apologize, I'm out of the camera here for a moment, but I'm digging deep. Let's try doing a half recipe. See how that turns out for me. These are really more for foam, but makes me want to check. Here. I don't know if this can handle high heat. I think I'm gonna risk trying it. Well, it is silicone. It's just a matter of if it's a... And it's not a... It's a matter of what high temperature the silicone is. Oh, we didn't set up my next game on Stream Raiders or give anyone awards. My apologies. Tree and HUD getting some rewards there. Actually, I'm going to start here in the center. Go after these things before they explode. Bun buns, yeah, no. It depends. Like, I was planning on quartering this recipe. How do you quarter 3 eggs? Some of it, you know, you just either got to round up or down, but yeah. So I think instead we're gonna go the half recipe. To start by grating some carrots. There's a whole bunch of other stuff in this recipe too. I don't know if I like this recipe. Don't really need 3 carrots, I don't think, but there's the last of the bag. I want to use up the bag. I think I want to throw the bread in the oven here and get the oven cleared up for our cake soon after. What did I do with my trivet? I think it's on actually on my desk. Yep. So, incoming hot pan. Space for the pan, that into the pan, that back, top over. Okay. Good to go. Back into the oven, and the lid on top. 20-minute timer on the oven. Absolutely. Though, I mean, once you have a good cure on the whole thing, it doesn't really... You don't need to keep recuring it. That one has a factory cure that I wore out pretty well. And it started getting ugly. And so we're sort of re-curing it. Even though it's still partially cured. Because the factory cures that they put out on cast iron, if you get a brand new cast iron, which I bought that brand new almost a year ago, are not that good. They're cheap. I mean, they're doing bare minimum what they knew to get it in your hands and usable. It's sort of on you to make it that much stronger and better and hold up. Welcome, Raiders! Thank you for that raid, Chef Peanut. Welcome, Hawaiian peoples. Maybe. Get in there. Darn it. I just need you to stay in there just for a little while. There we go. I don't know why that is not working properly. Why the shoutouts are not working when my bot says it. There we go. Thank you for that raid. What were we making tonight, Chef? I'm working with mustard tonight. You got 3 types here. I got dried down below. We're using all of them tonight. We've got chicken nuggets that are sitting here soaking up breading. We're going to be using these later. These were coated in mustard and were tossed. There's extra mustard in the dry breading. Going to be making some yellow North Carolina style barbecue sauce for dipping those in. Gonna be making some honey mustard for a simple salad with dinner. Gonna be doing some potatoes. Speaking of that, let's get our potatoes roasting. So I'm gonna roast my potatoes for my potato salad tonight, rather than boil them. This is handy for this. It was going to be for the cake, but we'll do it for the potatoes here. I can also throw this in with the bread. I did a very freeform, no knead bread recipe. Started that early this morning with a whole bunch of yellow mustard in there. So we've got mustard infused bread. And then the outside of it, I coated with dried mustard and whole wheat. It's mostly AP flour, but outside crust should be a little bit more wheaty. So for our potatoes, for our salad, just gonna toss these with a bit of oil, salt and pepper. I'm getting ahead of myself here. This is for potato salad, so just maybe quarter these. Get oil all over my board. It's fine. The board will like it. So if anyone's new in here from the raid, welcome in. Hi, I'm Jason. I cook now 4 nights a week. Used to be 3 nights. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. So Sunday, Mondays, back-to-backs. Tonight's Wednesday. We do ingredient challenges on Wednesday. We have a weekly vote in my Discord. People can submit ingredients of their own liking. And the winners make it to this point where I am making tonight dinner and dessert using mustard as an ingredient. Done all sorts of past ingredients, from crickets to all sorts of spices to spinach to after-8 dinner mints. All sorts of stuff. Been doing it over a year now. At least I think I have. We're really close, if not. So now that we got those chopped up a little bit, my hands cleaned up from the oil. Board cleaned up from the oil. Do a bit of salt. Bit of MSG. And black pepper. There's no mustard on these yet, but I am planning on making a very mustard-heavy dressing for the potatoes. And throw these in with the high-heat bread. Herb salt. Is that one of those salt alternatives? You need a bunch of grated carrot, which is what I was up to before the potatoes got in the way. This is going to be for a carrot cake with mustard. This is way too inefficient. If you got a link or something for that, throw that in the Discord. I'd be interested to see what you're talking about. I'm not quite sure. I mean, I've heard of a couple of different products out there that are sort of like not salt. Actually, there's one out there that's a product that's along that line, like, you know, it's like not salt or sort of salt or... This thing. This thing is rather dull at this point. Which means if it's making a mark, it's going to make a real mark. It's the honest truth, because you get cut by something sharp, you actually heal up a lot quicker. It's when you get hit by something not too sharp. Welcome in, Lexi. How you doing this evening? Same thing as, I mean, it's the same reason why a knife works good versus bad when it's sharp versus dull. It cuts. A sharp knife cuts. And a dull knife will tear or rip and something, but not cut. And so, clean cut is going to heal a lot better than something jagged. How you doing, Lexi? We're doing great in here. I'm gonna finish off my coffee here after, what, 2 hours almost? Hour and a half. So we only need about a cup of this for our cake, but we'll use the other cup for our salad tonight. Rinse out that oil from the potatoes. Awesome, Lexi. Glad you're doing well. Okay, we're not doing this recipe true to form. Huh. Well, I'm doing a half recipe, but this recipe has things in it that, yeah, we don't need to be adding into this. It's sea salt with organic algae, basil, oregano, onion powder, and coriander. Interesting. I wouldn't want to throw that in everything, but... Well, to be honest, I would rather have the individual things to throw them in at the amounts I want, but... It's not a horrible seasoned salt. It'd be pretty good for throwing on most things. And sugar to our butter here. Yeah, the major thing there is the herbs. The cilantro would throw off a lot of people too, or the coriander as it's listed there. With, I forget if it's like 13 or 16, it's a pretty decent percentage of the population taste that as soap. That's why they don't like cilantro. I'm pretty good with that myself. Okay, we got our salt and butter somewhat mixed here. We're not making cookies though, so I'm not being that precise with it. That was our timer to take the lid off of our bread. Give our potatoes a little shake. Close that back up. I would have thought you maybe get the umami from the algae, but I wouldn't want to say that for sure. Don't know what that was, if that was shell or something else. Bun's trying hard for the puns tonight. That one needs a picture of Mr. Burns. We're going big here with our mustard and our carrot cake. Woohoo! Where did you go? Where's the vanilla? What happened to the almond? I have to be staring at it and just not seeing it. It's supposed to be right here. Oh, there it is. Okay. It was sort of hidden. In my defense. Add a little vanilla extract in there. A little ginger. Little cinnamon. A little fresh grated nutmeg. And because it's me, more nutmeg than cinnamon. Always fascinating looking at the inside of those. Okay, anything else going into this part of our mixture? Salt. Pinch of salt. Did I set a second timer? I didn't. Guess at a 20-minute timer for that bread to finish up. And then in second bowl, one almost fell into the sauce. Oh, yeah, you can probably... It's not going to go much more than that, though. Really precise in my measurements here tonight. Thought I had a large spat out here already once tonight. Add our wet to our dry here. Then we're just mixing to combine. This recipe's got all sorts of stuff in it, so I'm hopeful that we're gonna have a good enough ratio here to mix everything nice. We should be actually heavy on liquid, and it's looking like we're doing okay. You can see all the mustard in there, though. Oh, I've had plenty. I'm pretty good at hiding them. But I have definitely had plenty. Of course, it's going to be pretty hard to find to hide this silicone if it melts. Battle. Actually, I'm thinking I messed up already. We won! Yeah, I'm taking it back out. Frolic helping out with the assists. Tree and Hud getting some rewards. So I'm taking this back out. Messed up. Realized, even though this is silicone, I still want to grease this. Take our potatoes out. Okay, second time around. Get on the dressing for those here shortly. And I'm going to make use of this pan again here. We'll ditch the parchment. Put a new sheet on. New single sheet. Feeling like I had two there. Put our cake on there. We'll hold on and we'll wait for that, the rest, for a couple minutes there. That'll be okay. The rest of this we're going to save for salad. I'm going to make a dressing here next for our potatoes. Oh, shut up. Shut up, timer. Trying to not break the mayo. Alright, let's pull our bread out and see what we got here. Looking pretty good. Looking pretty good there. I think we got some nice looking bread there. Some nice looking mustard bread. Especially for being that like freeform gloopy mess that it was, for it to puff up into this nice crust. So we're going to turn the heat down on the oven now. Quite a bit. Open that oven door for a moment. Allow it to evacuate a little of the heat. And into the oven. And we'll see if we have a mess in a bit. See how that looks in 30 minutes. Still a wire rack here. I say steel, but I mean use a wire rack. Freeform bread. What did I do with my hand towel? Move it back here. Put this on the stove to cool with its other half. Now nice and dark once again. You notice no nastiness left over in that. We definitely burnt that to a crisp. Now we'll clean up any residual oil or anything we got on the bottom here. Or I will. And then promptly heat it again and maybe coat it with some cooking oil at that point and let it just hang out. But this should be good to go for a little bit longer now. Okay, back to dressing. And trying to keep things from breaking. There's not even any mustard in this yet. Yeah, let's go for the whole grain here. That's all this has been used for anyways. This again. While I was using flour in before, we'll swipe the flour out of it. Here's our ripe avocado from, when was that? Monday? Sunday? Now we're ripe. 3-4 days later. Now that thing's like creamy. Sorry to those adverse to that word. So now we got our mustard mayo and our avocado. I don't know how green that looks on screen. It certainly looks green to me. That looks rather green to me. So to our taters, we're going to add, why not, since we got it available. Here I'll add a nice contrast color. Freeze-dried cilantro. Freeze-dried thyme. And a couple chives. No worries. What's up with the old apartment? We'll add our dressing to our still warm taters. Debating if I want to add a little shallot in that or not. I think I'm going to live without. We already got the onion in there. Or the chive at least. There's our potato salad for tonight. This is gonna obviously be better after a little time, but let's give that a shot before it's completely done. Pretty yummy. Actually, I think I can add a little soy to that. There's a couple of different things I could do to that. Anyways, we'll save that for later with everything else. Take a look at our chicken here. Give that a toss. Make sure it's not all completely clumped up. We got something resembling a cake going on there. Maybe we got something after all. Okay, so we got our chicken pretty much ready. We got our side salad done. Or our potato salad done. Bread is done. Bread is looking freeform, but it's got some... It looks like it's got some flavor to it. What am I forgetting for tonight? Oh yeah, barbecue sauce. Oops. Wrong button there with the slow chat. That was not my intent. Let's give our battle a shot here. We gonna get them before they all spawn? I don't think we will. We're gonna have to take a couple of these on after they hatch. Unless these maps have changed. If we don't get to these in time, they spawn things that we have to kill. Does some serious damage too. Victory. Mystica getting those kills. Treebow getting the assists. Treebow and Bun Bun's getting the rewards. Congrats. I like a little mystery. Let's go to the top level there. My tank out here. We're gonna play this game sort of like this. We're going to say no. We'll build up our army down here and we'll move as a mass from somewhere towards wherever everything pops up. That way we stay as a group rather than get split up and conquered. Well, before we get started with some barbecue, I need something to drink. Ugh. My whole house is gonna smell like that oil from curing that pan. Even though we're doing all this food, all I can smell in this house is that flax oil from curing the pan. Time for a little. Found out the other night that tomato majorly changes this, and that must have been part of what happened on Thanksgiving, where I fell in love with this. Okay. Oh, my auto brown sugar. I think I am. Oh well, we'll make do. So this is the start of our Carolina-style mustard-based barbecue. If I can ever get this top open on this molasses, it seems to be glued shut. There we go. Just collecting things for me to lick here in a minute. So we got sugar, molasses, and honey in there. We're gonna need a little mustard, just a little. Sounds like a bottle just broke. We'll call that good enough on the ketchup. Cayenne, and not being shy about it. Garlic and not being shy about it. And onion. A little Liam Perkins. And vinegar. I am going to go for malt vinegar. And because it's here in my face, splash of Tabasco too. And we're gonna bring this to a heat on the stove just to we see it all come together, that sugar melts into the rest of it. Need a landing area, or cake's about to come out. Hopefully we'll be able to move it there right next to our bread once that comes together. It's a little darker than I'm used to. I guesstimated a time here. It looks like I did all right. This is looking nice and lovely. I don't know if I really want to move this yet, but we're going to. And it held up. It looks like it held up at least. Cut the heat on that. Last things are all your traditional items here. Salt, MSG, black pepper, let that cool down. We'll let this cool down too. But that is it's springing back nicely. It's looking lovely. I'm happy with that. See if it actually pulls away too. So this should hopefully plate nicely. I'm gonna risk it. Wish I had a little bit more definition. Looks like we had too many bubbles there at the bottom. I maybe should have gotten those going a little bit better. Didn't fill in the small little nooks and crannies as well as it could have. Still got that nice flower pattern going around the outside though. Looks better on camera than it does in person to me. Oh yeah, it looks much better on camera. We'll allow that to continue cooling. It came out pretty clean. There was a little bit here, a few spots here and there, but pretty much just pulled right out. And there we have our Carolina barbecue sauce. Not quite as yellow as I've seen it other places, but I did add malt vinegar instead of a clear liquid, vinegar. And there's a number of darker ingredients in there. I can see darkening it. I'm okay with that. We'll set this off to the side. Actually, we'll set both of these off to the side here. So let's see how our bread turned out here. Take a photo of it beforehand. Let's see how yellow it is on the inside here for our bread. Oh, we got big bubble time going here, though. Big bubble time. Nice and yellow, though. Yep, it's bread. Not much mustard flavor there. Regardless of there being like a half cup in there. Something like that. I didn't measure it, I just squirted a bunch of mustard in it. Not even really a ton in the crust when I added the powdered mustard to it. Maybe I'm just becoming immune to mustard at this point. Bread will definitely go great with the few of the leftovers that I still have from Monday. Still got about a third of that fish left. And at least half of the hummus, if not more. I like the way that the bread looks. I like the way that it turned out for as gloopy, as wet as it was. Gonna say it's not my finest work at the same time. An okay bread though. Okay, last couple of projects of the evening here. We got our frosting for our cake. Got to do our sour cream frosting for our carrot cake. Hopefully it's thin enough that it will still show our pattern. Maybe I should do just like a straight glaze for that. Do something more like a sour cream glaze. Maybe I'll skip the butter in the... Yeah, let's try skipping the butter in this. It's not like I really need it anyways. But we need to get some oil heating up here for our chicken too. Since frying is what we're going to be finishing with tonight. Don't fail on me, electricity. Start thinking what I can put in this besides just that. Scotch and sour cream glaze. That sounds like a winner. This is still pretty warm. I'm debating whether I want to even add this right now. No guts, no glory. Might need to replate that, but that's looking like that might be okay. I think that's going to absorb in. I think that's going to look pretty when it's done. We'll let that continue to cool down and absorb. all gonna be one core group down at the bottom, and we're gonna work together. First thing, the AI just splits us all in half. Victory! Victory! Tree Bow getting those kills. Kaboom Banana helping out with the assists. Welcome in. Tree Bow and Kaboom Banana. Wow, that's a tongue twister. I'm gonna go with my warrior here. We'll start right there. Right in onto the fighting. Okay, so we got salad to make. Or to prep. So we got our carrot. Oh, I still have the container for the lettuce. We can mix this all in the lettuce container. Almost got more carrot than I do lettuce here. Oh well. We're going all four for this. All four types of mustard for this. We're just gonna finish off with a big bang of all of them, all in one mix. Well, we definitely got some mustard there. I'm gonna add one of those secret ingredients. A little hint of ginger there. Thank you, Tree. And honey. Yeah, a little more than that. Alright, so that'll be mixed with our salad once our chicken's done cooking. almost 250-ish there. Give our chicken a little bit more of a turn here, make sure. We're gonna have to individually push these in there so that they don't clump up, but I think we're good on coating here. Oh hey, it would have been helpful if you could see what I was doing there. We have our chicken that I already cut and breaded, and it's been sitting in the breading, allowing it to sort of soak up some of that juice and become lovely. Might finish this potato salad before I even get done with the chicken here tonight. I was hopeful with the acid in there it wouldn't oxidize at all, but the avocado is oxidizing a little. We're going pretty late tonight. Then again, I did plan a pretty good menu tonight. We covered quite a bit tonight. Bread turned out lovely. The cake, I think, is going to turn out looking awesome once it's given a little time to absorb that sugar mixture. Pretty much all set up here for frying. I got my fry tool over here. I got my chicken just the other side here. Got a wire rack over here for catching our chicken after it's done frying. Excuse me. Trying to talk and burp at the same time. How impolite of me. Is our oven all on? Should be, yeah. What am I sipping? Ten-year. Their base level. Yeah, I bought it for Thanksgiving. I've been enjoying it. I really enjoyed it on Thanksgiving. Since then, it isn't. That first night, it was like, bam! But I had bottle and a half of wine before at that point. Very nice and light. Very awesome. Very happy with that. I've been more into bourbons, and so I'm now starting to expand beyond that. Probably going to stick mostly to bourbon still, though. So we're just waiting on our oil to come up to temp here. It was like, yeah, we're almost 300-ish there. 290. I caught 300 there for a moment, but it's definitely not the average. So I've been reading lately about, and I've been sort of following lately that they've got some really nice cameras starting to come out here as far as like Raspberry Pi and like just on a chipboard. And so I'm really interested to see what's going to happen here in the next 5 years with cameras. Because the thing that's really driving cameras these days, I mean, we're getting to the point where cell phones are almost as good as high-end cameras. And it's really coming down to the software and the chip makers. And so now there's like apparently a 1080 video 4K still video camera for Raspberry Pi. And they have plans for 3D printing lenses for it. We could see a huge crash in the cost of cameras here versus, I mean, we already have cameras everywhere, but we really could have cameras everywhere here in a couple of years. The major thing that I've been looking for is, as far as upgrades or anything as far as video here, is I want to move to 4K. I want to move to 4K, not necessarily because I expect to broadcast at 4K, but I'd love to be able to record at 4K, resize, or edit if it's for videos, and then send out. I'm pretty sure we're getting to the point where we can probably find someone that's going to have a sensor like that if we've already got one that's close. And I sort of doubt a Raspberry Pi's processing ability to handle this. Maybe a next generation. But the idea that you could have a computer with each camera that could do some of your post processing and then send it over Wi-Fi to central computer where you have OBS. There's a lot you could do with that, especially if it was like a $200 thing, $300 thing. I mean, people would be willing to put those in really dangerous areas at that price point. Like we've got wood turners and stuff like that here on Twitch that would be all about that. I'd love to find one that can handle high heat, but the only high heat cameras I've found have been like scientific ones that are low resolution and extremely expensive. But I'd love to have an oven cam. That's actually been suggested to me several times, and love to do it. It's just not really feasible. There's a couple of people who've done the whole camera looking directly into the oven, but then you gotta play games with keeping the camera properly placed and making sure your oven window is actually staying nice. Like, who actually has a nice oven window? We're going to go up to around 375 because I'm anticipating adding enough chicken in here to lower the temperature. There's a number of streamers that already do that, or there's actually streamers that film in what's the in between there, between high def and 4K. I'm forgetting. There's an in between there that's not heavily used. There's several streamers that film at that rate so that they can adjust and crop and change things and have a very high image to then send through their OBS. The cake, yeah, it's looking pretty good. I think it's going to be really nice once the white from the sugar sort of fades. Which it definitely will once it's in the fridge or by tomorrow, but... Anyways, there's a step in between that you can film at. That's sort of like... It's not really used by much in the way of video, but... If it helps you get a nice 1024 image. Like, I know Lupo does that. Dr. Lupo. He has three PCs. He has a gaming PC, he has like a chat PC, and then he has his stream processing PC. Or something like that. But basically, he's recording his cameras and everything in his room separate, individually recording them, and then adding them into OBS, which is something that I would really like to do, because if you're doing post-video doctoring or anything like that, to have a clean video source of one thing when you want to focus on it, instead of me sitting here chatting, it's a really awesome thing to have. Of course, he's also sponsored by Intel and... Let's do some frying. Be careful splashing yourself, folks. It's not good to get hot oil on your hands. Like I'm trying very hard to do here, apparently. I got myself pretty good there earlier. I probably do have a light burn on my hand right now. In fact, I know I do. I can feel it now. Yay. No worries, Tree. Hey, Hazel. see you've been in and out. You were here before we even got going. I saw you lurking in chat like an hour and a half before stream. I think someone saw my tweet and maybe thought I was live already. But welcome in, happy to have you. Hopefully you're having a lovely Wednesday. We're having fun with mustard tonight. We're working on our last couple projects here. We're frying up our chicken. And then we just got to mix our salad. We got our carrot cake and carrot and mustard cake on the cutting board there. That's what that lovely flower pattern is. Those little whiter specks on the outside of it are the cornmeal. See what our oil temp is at now. Yep, that dropped a good 50 degrees. Some light salt on top of our freshly fried chicken. I picked up probably the most interesting one, just randomly grabbing one. I approve of the flavor. Let's try the barbecue with it. Our North Carolina honey barbecue sauce. Making me cough, it's so mustardy. It's delicious. Skip the answer to that, Hazel. Just write the word down. Tortil. Okay, nice. Nice. Want to eat. I'm so tempted to start grabbing. They're yummy. I want. Alright, you're doing pretty good with them, Hazel. I think that's just about perfect with the cornmeal. Like, I like cornmeal with my chicken tenders. Get that little bit of grit, that little bit of corn grit going. But I don't like it when it's like what they use for all of it, because it's too much. I think that's just, I mean, it looks a little funky with how it's white to the dark, light to the dark, but I think that's like perfect flavor and crunch wise. Probably about ready here again. Yeah, let's go ahead. It's a couple degrees cooler, but thank you, Hazel. Wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, really, at all. I was worried that the silicone pan that I cooked it in wasn't high heat silicone, but it handled it fine. I was worried I was going to open up the oven in 30 minutes and have a pool of cake and melted silicone. But it came out nice, and the pattern mostly stayed. The inside was a little muddied up. I'm sure it would work much better with like a mousse cake than it did with the real cake, but I still think it turned out nice. And the white is going to fade here as the liquid evaporates / the sugar soaks in. So good, looking even better here in a little bit. One less batch of frying here we're waiting on the oil for. You can see where I splashed myself with oil there already. A little red on the hole. Ooh, time for another battle already. Nice, Hazel. Uh-oh. This ain't looking good. We're down on forces here. What happened here? They just slaughtered us. Come back. Oh, frog killed us all. The frog killed us. Excuse me. Actually think I'm going to hold off on Stream Raiders here for the evening. We'll call that our last battle of the night. We only got one more batch of frying here until we're wrapping things up. Clear up some room for showing off our chicken when that's done in our salad. Try one of our largest pieces here and see if it's all cooked through. Pretty sure this is cooked through. That's looking pretty good there. Focus. Yeah, I'm digging the chicken. It's got all sorts of mustard going with it. It's not spicy like the mustard, but you can tell it's there. It's reminding me a lot of my mom's shake and bake style chicken. She made a chicken all the time with, I don't know what she made as far as the season, what she used for her breading mix. But shake it up in a bag deal and then fry it. tired of waiting. I want my chicken. We're 10 degrees under. I'm going anyways. Got myself a second time tonight. Well, how did I create the dishes tonight? Our simple honey mustard salad. Flame off now on our oil. Bit more fine salt over the top. Here's our fried chicken. let's put everything together here for everyone to see all one screen here. Let's give this a stir up, make this a nice and pretty green once again. Avocado's oxidizing on me a little bit there, which will add a little bitterness to it, but otherwise perfectly safe for you. Our honey mustard salad, our mustard bread. Not the greatest proof on that. That thing went crazy on its initial proof, and I think it went too hard on its initial proof, and its second proof just didn't cut it. I probably should have folded it a bit more than I did, even though I did fold it quite a bit. Hazel, I suggest that you never make a dinner using mustard and everything, because it's going to turn out horribly. I'm going to wait on breaking into this carrot cake because I want to let this sit and see if we can't get that to give us some nice clearer looks there. I'm actually going to pop this into the refrigerator right now and allow it to cool down a little bit after the stream finishes. I'm going to sneak another piece of chicken here because it's delicious. Well, unless anyone would like to guide the raid tonight, I think tonight I am going to just cut and run. I'm gonna go and enjoy all this while it's still nice and warm and tasty. And frankly, while I love raiding other people, it always runs into my dinner. I'm sitting there, they're wanting to chat with me, and I don't want to chat. I want to chat like 20 minutes after. I want to thank everyone for joining me. Would love to see you back here on Friday. We're going to do chicken of some sort, probably. I mean, I've got 2 others in the fridge ready. And then Sunday, we're going to be doing chicken stock. Going to be a long stream on Sunday. Going to be doing chicken stock, probably do some bread, probably do some other projects. And we'll wrap those up on Monday. We'll get the chicken stock pretty much fully cooked. Monday, we'll reduce it and we'll bag it and we'll freeze it. So, thank you all for joining me. I hope you come back and join me once again. And have a great night. Bye-bye now.